So today I would like to talk to you about from surviving a concussion to blooming in harmony, how to reinvent yourself after a brain injury. 3 weeks ago marked the 10 years anniversary of having a concussion. I believe that it happens for me and not to me. At the time, in 2013, I had no idea what it was to have a concussion. I had no one around me who had a brain injury, and I had very little hope that it's going to be a quick journey. However, it took me 10 years to be in a state of blooming, which is like what a wonderful phase to be. However, the last 10 years has been very tumultuous, and not necessarily only for me, but also for my family and for my friends. So I would like to tell you how I got here in a state of blooming. So I am a brain injury bloomer, and I used to be a survivor. Even though despite the term survivor, for me, surviving is not enough. You're barely living in my mind. So I used to say I'm a brain injury person, but not survivor. So I would like to see maybe some change in this wording at some point. So how having a traumatic brain injury affected my life. I realized that many people after having a traumatic brain injury often feel like they are losing their mind because concussion impact us not only physically, but also emotionally, mentally, socially, romantically, and professionally. And the word in the number in the bracket indicate like 165,000 people are looking at TBI every month in a search bar to find information. And 368,000 people are looking at concussion words to find answer and to find help and assistance. So it is big. And I find that lots of time we have like a hard time finding resource and finding like support that bring us to a state of wellness. So in my journey, I reflected on my 10 years, and here's what I came to realize. So there were 3 stages in my healing journey. The level 1 is the shock to the bare essential management I had to do in my day-to-day life, and also for my family to adapt to what I was going through. Later on, it's an introduction to brain injury, like what is it to have been invited, like to have been called into this journey of having a brain injury and to heal. So what to do and what not to do. And the level 3 for me was grieving to reinventing my life, reinventing something new. I realized very early on that I will never be able to go back to where I was before, to who I was. And I feel it's a great thing, because there was a lot of great thing about my life, but there was also things that I needed to look at, to reassess and edit. And it gave me an opportunity to really make the changes and the transformation that was needed for me. I started to be interested in wholeness. So wholeness is described as a state of forming a complete and harmonious whole, a state of unity. It's a process of many steps we take in order to better ourselves in various aspects in our life. During the last 10 years, I've been exploring many aspects in my recovery journey. So emotionally, physically, intellectually, and spirituality. So to give you an example of emotionally, I started to see a therapist like a few months after I had a concussion. I never saw a therapist before, and meeting him like weekly was really something that I was looking for, because this person was really holding space for me. He was understanding me. He was curious about what I was experiencing, but he was also able to plant various seed in me, like things that maybe could be of interest for me to explore, like painting, doing improv class, joining different group, also starting to write in journals to express my frustration and my emotion. Physically, I saw physio, osteopath, different like practitioner to help me, like, to get in a better physical aspect. Intellectually, again, like I feel like intellectually was learning, finding my own pace, finding also what works for me, and finding a way to finding accommodation that was helping me to be able to eventually be able to read, watch TV, using the computer. It took me a long time to arrive there, and one of the best modality that helped me in my journey was vision therapy. But vision therapy happened in my recovering process in my 7th year. So there was a lots of things that I just took for granted. And I thought then what I was going to be in that state for the rest of my life. Thank God, like, then I persist and I adapt, and I had the patience and the determination to pursue my healing journey and to find different things that could help me. During this healing journey, spirituality became a very big aspect in my life. Learning and accepting that there was something bigger than me, something like that was able to co-create with myself. I was not necessarily aware, and also I was not like open to this, like not pre-injury, but after having the accident, I had lots of time to reflect, lots of time to be like in my mind and in my body. And because when you are always busy, you cannot access what is maybe like needs to surface. But as we know, when we have a brain injury, we have lots of time, lots of lonely time, lots of time like where we are solo in silence, and it's a great opportunity to access our own inner tapestry. So I realized in this journey, like as Mary mentioned, I was also like, I also created a support group. Lots of people also came to me, was referred to me either by friends, by acquaintance, when they knew that they had someone around them had brain injury. So here are a few things that, then I found in my journey, and I heard, and I also assist people. So after having a brain injury, I often thought I was losing my mind. How often I said that I think I'm crazy. I cannot remember different thing. I don't seem to be able to go through a simple process of different steps to solve a problem. I also felt that I was like a zombie, at that nobody understand what I was dealing with. After the bruise left me, I look normal. I behave normally. So people like were not necessarily thinking that I had a brain injury. And sometimes I was also embarrassed to ask for what I needed and what I wanted. And sometimes I didn't know what I wanted and what I needed. So it's a very confusing state. I've also felt completely disconnected from life. I couldn't participate like not in various activity. I couldn't go out. I couldn't go to a restaurant. I felt my life was on hold, and that one day maybe I will be able to go back to live a normal life. This is a statement I heard from someone, like she was not able to return to work because her symptoms were too debilitating. This one I could resonate with. I spent many months in a room with the door closed, the light off, and sleeping a lot. So wondering when at some point I will be able to go back and have, maybe some times with my family and my friend. I wasn't able to socialize, and it definitely impacted my marriage as well as my relationship with my friends and family members. So for me, 4 years after I had a traumatic brain injury, I went through a divorce. I was with my ex-husband for many, many years, and it affected our relationship, and also the relationship I had with my youngest son who was living with me. It took us a lots of time to repair this relationship due to the brain injury and also to the divorce. Like I think there's a gap for me like that is missing in when we have a brain injury. I think that we focus a lot on the person who had the brain injury, and we not necessarily assist the people and the people around us, especially our partner and our family member, our children. So this is definitely an area where I receive a lots of phone call by people and say, hey, like, you know what, could you help me to maybe express or to have a conversation with a family member who completely ignore me or deflate me constantly. After having a brain injury, I suffer from migraine, memory loss, slurring, erratic mood swing, emotional distress, depression, social anxiety, insecurity, and fatigue. This statement represents me for many, many years, probably 6, 7 years. And after my divorce, I moved on my own. My youngest son went to university. I've never lived in my life solo. So that was atrocious, terrifying. However, like not 6 years later, I'm still standing and I'm there stronger than ever. So I think there's no life gives you what you are able to deal with. And if you're not, you're going to learn how to deal with. So there's a lots of growth and a lots of beauty in this journey. Also, like I experienced loss in every area of my life. Absolutely, like relationship, monetarily, physically. I think it's part of the journey, and it's sometimes hard to grieve what we have lost. I had a lot of guilt as I couldn't be there for my kids when I was needing to lie down in a dark room all the time, especially with my young one who was 14 and he was very active, was in sports, had a lot of commitment after school, and I was not accessible. And even though, like, you know what, I wanted to be there for him, I was not capable. So it's hard to go through as a parent. And I wasn't able to watch TV, to read, to be on street or talk on the phone for many, many years. And it's really difficult. What could you do? Like at some point it's only resting and, you know, you become bored and you wonder, is something going to get better at some point? So here are some of the symptoms that I experienced and also what I heard in the concussion support group. This is like, you know what, like very common. So short and long-term memory problems, planning, organizing, and assembling are also difficult. Reasoning, problem solving, decision-making, and judgment are sometimes impaired. I had problem with concentration, attention, and or thinking problems. I had blurry and altered vision, lots of pain in my left eyes for many, many years, aphasia, sensibility to sound and to light, mood change, confusion, a lot of confusion, numbing or tingling of arm or legs. For me, it was mostly in my face on the left side, lots of anxiety, nervousness, sadness was kind of very, very present in my life for many, many years. Irritability or easily angered, a change in sleep pattern, tinnitus, dizziness, fatigue, headache, or head pressure was part of my day-to-day life. I remember thinking, will I be able to go through a day without having emotional disturbance, physical pain, or cognitive impairment? And I'm there most of the time, not all the time, but I'm there most of the time. So through this journey, I choose personally to go to use holistic medicine instead of traditional medicine. So I will say most of my 10 years, I took very little medication. So I saw a chiropractor 3 days after I had the brain injury, massage therapist, Chinese acupuncturist, an osteopath, a naturopath, an homeopath, the somatic therapist who helped me to come back to my body, to help me to connect with my emotion and what was happening in my body and what was some of the area maybe where I was keeping, you know, my tension, but also where some of the emotions were trapped. I did art therapy. I saw a psychiatrist, healers, holistic nutritionist. I did a neurovisual optometric rehabilitation. I work with a vision therapist, a reflexologist, and many other practitioners. I invest a lots of money, a lots of time and energy to get where I am now. I saw at some point cardiologists and neurologists, and I also believe, like, you know what, then I co-create with the universe, because it has been, like, you know, a beautiful journey when I opened to spirituality, understanding that there is a purpose behind all of this. As I said in the beginning, it happened for me and not to me. And I felt then when I tried to control everything and I wanted to have it in my own time, or I didn't want necessarily to listen to the rhythm of my body. I was seeing so many practitioners for so many years. And at some point I didn't know what was, if like what was good for me and what was making a difference in my life. So at some point I realized that perhaps I needed to slow down and to let my body guide me and see what was the best treatment that I could have, and stick with it for a while. And after that, like, you know what, maybe bring something else. So, and part of my healing team was my family, my friends, and some loved one. And I also realized that we need to be gentle when we are healing, and we need to start over many, many times, because it's not a linear process, as we know. So as I said, so I went from surviving a traumatic brain injury to healing, reinventing, and thriving. My mission is to educate, to inform, and to empower people to create a new life, because I believe that our life is not over. It's a different life. It's an opportunity to be curious, and also to discover what are some of the gifts that are inside of us that maybe we've never tapped in. And when we slow down and when we become to explore and experience life differently, we are able to find these gems that reside in us. So from May 2013 to today, so what I have, like Mary have, like, you know, express a little bit what I have done, but here are some of the gifts I have discovered, and there's many others who are ready to emerge in their own time. So in 2016, I started to share my journey on social media about what was my life post-concussion. And I connected with many people from around the world who are also going through this journey. We help each other, we share resource, we share tips and way of living, so that I'm very, very grateful. And also it was an amazing opportunity to educate people who had no idea what it is to live with a post-concussion life, and to raise awareness, because I feel people have a misconception of what it is to live with a brain injury. And as we know, like, each one of us is different. Each one of us experience various symptoms. And the more people are willing to share their story, the better understanding people will have about the variety of symptoms and reality that many of us are experiencing. I started also to write in my journal, I started to write my own frustration, my desire, my dreams. I was very close. I had lots of difficulty to express myself post-injury. And I felt then after having the injury, I had to be cautious, because I could have hurt people very easily, sharing what I was experiencing, but also my feeling, my frustration with them. So writing my experience in my journal was an amazing way to liberate myself and to also let go of the emotion that was flooding me. In 2020, I started to give talks about my journey. I gave talks in different brain injury association. I also, pre-COVID, I gave educational talk in Burlington, where I lived. And my desire was to connect with people who had brain injury, and also to share, like, again, to share my experience, but to raise awareness and to perhaps guide people who were looking for some answer, who were looking to find a practitioner. So I think it was an amazing experience to come together and to be able to bring all our like knowledge and our like what we have found helpful in this journey, and to share it with everyone. I founded also the concussion support services, where I led monthly support group where for people who have brain injury. So we did it in person. We also did a Zoom call when COVID happened, because I think at that time, particularly more than ever, we needed to stay connected with each other, and to realize that we had experienced loneliness, we had experienced adaptation, and we had lots of expertise going through COVID that many people didn't have. So I think for me, it was really important to bring this awareness to people. Then we already have like lots of skills, and we could apply them during what was happening during COVID. And in 2023, I started Blooming in Harmony. So Blooming in Harmony is a business that I created, where I offer many programs, and my desire is to help people to reinvent themselves and create an amazing life. I am an artist, and I participated at a virtual exhibit and also real exhibit for the last 2 years with BIST. I am a photographer, and I love beauty. So I call myself a beauty connoisseur. For me, it's really important to share beauty. And when I talk about beauty, is the physical beauty, the aesthetic aspect, but also it's the inner beauty that we have inside of us that I am very curious, and I am very interested to discover in various people. This year, I became a producer of Blooming in Harmony podcast. So we have recorded a few episodes who are going to be released very soon. So this project is a collaboration with Concussion Box, an organization from the United States, who are raising awareness about concussion and helping concussed people to get together and share their story. They have created an audio library where people who have brain injury could record their story to raise awareness to the different community. In the last few months, I've been very busy. I've created Conversation in French, where people who speak French, who wants to improve their speaking skills, could come together online. And soon we're going to have like a Conversation in French immersive experiences, where we are going to go to various places, cafe, restaurant, perhaps going to a market, and we are going to speak French and also learn about various vocabulary that perhaps like people are not necessarily skills to. And I think it's going to be a very amazing experience. I'm very looking forward to share that with many people. I have created a mantra, because now I am a businesswoman. So this is one mantra that I love to say every day. So my mantra is, I am so happy and grateful. I am a savvy businesswoman who is successfully creating new opportunity and saying yes to possibility that generate joy, beauty, magic, prosperity, and harmony in my life. I think the more joy I could create in my life, the more I am elevated my energy and my vibration, and I could attract something like that is going to be of beauty, something that is going to be more magical, and I am going to have a better harmonious state in my life. Now I would like to invite you perhaps to have like a conversation. These are some of the questions that I ask the people who come on my podcast. Since we're not there's not a lot of people, I just curious if you would be interested to maybe answer some of these questions, and perhaps we could see like what it will be, what we'll find out. So what is important for you now? Name one thing you lost and two things you gain at pre-concussion. What are 2 or 3 tools you are using when you are dealing with emotional and physical pain? And last but not least, a very important point for me, let's talk about your supporters and your encouragers. Who are they? And do you have something to say to them? So I open like the discussion. You could pick any question and perhaps share with us.
Okay, I think I'm the only one here. I don't know what I've gained. I know I can't work anymore. It's been 3 years. So I've lost my ability to do multiple things at once, and I've lost my comfort socializing, and just I used to be. I feel smarter. I mentor people, so I feel like I've lost my identity, basically. I guess something I've gained may be that a new appreciation for what I did have. I've gained a new hobby, which is drawing. I was more active, and I like to read and do that type of thing. So I'm not able to do that anymore to the same degree. So I find that drawing and coloring is a new hobby.
Wonderful.
Yeah. In terms of dealing with the emotional and physical pain, the physical pain, I mean, there's stretches I've been shown, in trigger point therapy. So I try and use that. And emotionally, I still struggle with that. I'm still, I have a CBT therapist and an art therapist, and there's a psychiatrist, and like there's so many different tools available. Sometimes they provide conflicting suggestions, right? I guess it's a very individual thing.
Absolutely.
Yeah, but I found the art therapy, particularly because she went through a TBI herself, I just find the people who have gone through it themselves are the ones I benefit the most from, because the strategies are strategies they've tried, and they understand. When I explain, I'm so anxious now, and I wasn't before, and I feel confused very easy. Just even if things are messy in the house, it creates a confusion for me in my head. I can't boil spaghetti and talk to somebody at the same time. I forget what I'm doing, and somebody who's gone through a TBI seems to understand it better. So,
Absolutely.
but I don't have too many people I know that have gone through a TBI outside of my art therapist. So when I was reading up on you, I was just amazed at all the stuff you said there is happening here. I don't know if you've dealt with clients whose their kids are like, I almost feel like they're angry at me.
Yes, absolutely. Because like what I realize also, Minnie, is my kids are also grieving. My kids are grieving the mom than I was. So, and as I said, when you are healing and after the bruise left, you look normal. You are able to express yourself, maybe not the same way. But I find my children didn't have support, and I hear it all the time. My son is angry, my sister-in-law made this kind of comments, my parents are like doing this. So I feel that sometimes a lot of support, and we seek support, we seek assistance and mentoring and guidance. But what is happening for our loved one, that is like, for me, that's a big gap, and there's something that needs to be done in that aspect. Collectively we need to also share our experience, and the kids or our partner needs to hear it from various people, because at some point they think that this is for me, for example, in my marriage, as my husband used to say to me, oh my gosh, like what's happening? You were okay 30 minutes like ago, and now like you're not okay, and like you need to rest, and we need to kind of like, what, like we cannot watch TV, or you need
Yeah.
to withdraw, like what is happening. But I said, this is like that. And at the time I didn't know, I didn't necessarily have the words to express myself and to say to him, okay, this is for this reason that is happening. So which created a lots of conflict. I think,
Yeah.
like it's all about education, raising awareness, and having like, the tools. And also I feel that our loved one, they don't know what to do, they don't know how to assist us, and sometimes we're not necessarily capable to express to them what we need,
Mm.
because we don't know sometimes what we need.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
reality.
Yeah. So yeah. So I'm in search for some sort of purpose, and I just, yeah. I mean, I feel badly for them. I actually feel, they're just like they're innocent parties to this.
They're
And
collateral, yeah, they're.
yeah, and I do, I sympathize with them. And all my children, my husband, they're great. They'll always say, "We know it's not your fault." So everything's prefaced with that statement, but there's still anger. And even if it's not my fault, I get
Absolutely.
I'm angry too. So I mean, I just feel like a shadow of myself. And then yeah, I don't know. I sometimes I'm just so tired of going to get the help. And
For sure.
yeah, so I mean, I haven't had a day yet where I don't need to rest or remove myself from the noise.
Mhm.
Um, yeah, so to have a noise sensitivity when you have three children that are 10 and under, it, it's
Yeah,
it's
it's.
not conducive to the environment I live in, right?
Yes, yes, for
They,
sure.
they're children. They need to be allowed to be children, and I tell them that it's okay to talk. I'm just going to go upstairs and just like have a moment,
Yeah,
because they need to still be allowed to be kids, but they all they want is to be around me.
for
And
sure, for sure.
so,
Sure. And and I think this is it, like, it's how to live our life, like, not the best that we can be. And also for us to accept, like, not to grieve, like that the old version of us, and be curious of what we could become. I think
so
that.
how did you find, like, how did you turn that feeling around in yourself? Like you said, you felt very lonely once your husband and your son were, away.
Yeah,
So
for
what
sure.
made you, because I'm just waiting for some switch to flip and for me to just find some purpose. And
Yeah, I think the purpose took me a long time, like, what, to arrive to the purpose. I think, like, what, it's, as I said, it's the small little things that, I started also to, for me, like, what, I was so happy to be alive, because I could have died that day. Like when I had the cycling accident, I could have
yeah,
died. So I had a big, like I had a different look at life. Before, I was so busy, I didn't have time to appreciate life and to be grateful. But later on, like, like just being alive, just being able to walk, even though if it was difficult. So I started to kind of, look at gratitude, and also write the progress, right? Like, the different thing that is working well, and it's where I am improving, because I was always looking for the big things, like what is
yeah,
going to be the big thing that's going to happen.
yeah,
But for the big thing to happen, you need a series of small steps,
yeah,
small improvement,
yeah,
incremental improvement to arrive to a big like step. So as I said, I did a lot of different modality. Natures for me, like, it's an amazing healing process, like
yeah,
spending time in the forest, also cultivating joy. What is it that brings you joy, and try
yeah.
to
That's
do
what
it,
I'm
like
searching
more.
for.
And
Yeah,
also regularly, and in the morning I did like meditation. I still do, like, not 10 years later, meditate every morning, like, not before
yeah,
starting my day, journaling, doing affirmation, like, it was a very big part, like, retraining my brain, like changing, like, the thought process, like
yeah,
it was something like very important. And taking one day at a time. This is the only thing I could do,
yeah,
one day at a time, like, because this is, your body has its own rhythm, and you cannot speed the recovery, like, even if you want with all your heart to go faster, your body
Yeah.
has its own rhythm, and it will eventually. You're 3 years, so I don't know, like, everyone is different. Some people, like, they heal in 6 months, some others like
Mhm.
15 years later. Like, as I said, in my 7th years, I started vision therapy, and for me, it changed my life. It
Yeah,
totally.
I'm just starting. Yeah, the
So,
vestibular.
yeah. So
I think it's because it's my first concussion 12 years ago. I was better in a week.
yeah.
Like I had no, like I didn't even, the week was forced on me to be off. So I don't know if it's because it's a second one. I have no clue.
Perhaps, like, we don't
Yeah.
always know, like, maybe our age is like also hormone, like the hormone, like, that's being, like, altered. And also, you don't know the first concussion, like, did you completely heal? We don't know about that. So maybe you didn't
Mhm.
heal completely, and now you have a second one, and it triggers something, like, so there's so many factors. That's why I think for me, like, what made, I will say, probably my journey an amazing journey is the fact that I looked at different aspects of my life. I think, like,
Mhm.
sometimes, because physically and cognitively we're so impacted, we look at at these two aspects. But I think it's important to look at us, like, at different aspect that we are, because we're not just a physical body. We're not just like a brain. Like, so there's the spirituality, like, what is also important. And the emotional is, for me, like, was an amazing, like, aspect to look at, an aspect that I had negated a lot in my life pre-injury. And when
Yeah.
I had that injury, like, it kind of exploded, and I had to look at this and see
Yeah.
what needed to be done in that sphere of my life. And also, when I continue, like, up to these days, like, not learning about self-love and self-compassion and
Mhm.
self-forgiveness. So
I'm big on that. I don't practice it for myself, but I guess you must, because if I want my children to be kind to themselves, I need to be kind to myself.
yeah, we
That's
need to
a work
start with,
program.
we need to start with ourselves, like, in order,
Yeah.
like, to have it, like, for other people. So I'm just curious also, like, who are your supporter and encouragers? And
My husband and I have a personal trainer, and they see progress. I guess for me it's so minute that, and I'm so busy comparing myself to what I was, right? So yeah, and there's a physiotherapist. My parents are great, but they make the comments like, still after so long, you're
mm,
still getting confused, right? And so they're there, but I've lost a lot of friends
oh
because
yes,
I didn't want to, and I still don't want to talk to them. So,
yeah,
but I
for
have
sure.
my husband. Yeah, I used to feel connected with God. I don't anymore. So I'm like, I feel disconnected even in those relationships, like my husband, my kids. I love them, but I feel really, it's so hard to explain.
No, I
Like,
understand totally, like,
yeah,
yeah, because you lost your identity. So to come back and to find your new identity, to create a new self, it takes time, it takes
mhm,
exploration, and patience and curiosity. So I think
mhm,
as you said, there's a lots of confusion, but at some point, with time and with guidance, you will get there. You will get there,
mhm.
and don't let anyone give you a time limit. I don't believe in this. I don't believe
Yeah,
the
yeah. Well,
journeys.
it's very promising seeing that you went through it and seeing what you're doing now. That in and itself is inspiration, which
Oh,
is what
thank
made
you.
me want to come in today and hear what you had to say, because
Yeah.
it provides me some hope, right?
Yes, and hope is all we need. We
Hope
need
is,
hope.
yeah,
We need also the capacity to dream and also to envision, like, something different for us. And I think this is
yeah,
it. Like, sometimes, like, what we're so like, what concussion became, like, like I said, like for me, there's many dots in my life, but concussion dots was so big. And as the year passed, like, and things didn't get resolved, it became bigger and bigger. That was
Mhm.
my focus. Like, you know what, like, and I said at some point, I said, no, like, this is only one aspect of my life. Like, you know what, I'm
Yeah.
not only a concussed person. I'm a
Yeah.
friend, a mother, an artist, like, you know, so
Yeah.
yes, I have like some of these symptoms, but also like I could go through life, and eventually I also believe, like, you know, I have to believe then things are going to get better in order for me to have a better life. So
Yeah. Yeah.
that,
Yeah. So
oh,
yeah, that's why right now that's what I'm doing. Just looking for hope. And
yes, yes.
that's what keeps me
Yeah,
going.
absolutely. So let you know, so what's next? So if you're looking for mentoring, coaching, or for your family member, I would love to help you. I would love to
Okay.
help you to reinvent yourself and to bloom in harmony. And one thing, one of the quote that I have, like this is something that I did also, meaning like I had like so many quotes like in
Yeah.
my apartment and in my house to help me to hold on to something
Yeah.
positive, something encouraging that was
Yeah.
helping me like every day to believe and to take action, even if it's small action, to create a better life. So I have like this quote: I choose to make the rest of my life the best of my life. And I would love
Mhm.
that for you as well.
Yeah.
So if you would like to follow me, this is like on
Am I
Instagram.
able to, is it okay if I take a picture of
Oh
that?
yes, absolutely. This is my email address and my LinkedIn. And
And you have experience working with children like as well, like who are going.
I used to be a teacher, so like
Okay.
I'm still a teacher, like what I teach
Yeah.
French now, but I
Yeah.
used to be like a remedial teacher, so I have experience like with children. As I said, like I at some point where I live, I became like kind of known as the person for the brain injury. So if
Yeah.
someone had a friend or like a colleague or a family member who had brain injury, like I will receive a call and hey, what do I need to do? What's the first step? What's like,
Yeah.
what is next? Like, and I always like share my experience, like understanding that this is my experience. It's not necessarily the truth,
Yeah.
my
Yeah.
truth. But yes, I think that, also it's important to support our loved one who are
I
going
think
through this,
true.
because yeah, it is. I think, as I said, I think it's an area where there's not a lot of support for me. So I don't
Yeah.
know, Mary, does the association offer this kind of support to family member and loved one?
So I think, and yeah, um, we do. Bayer has a caregiver group, and BIS does as well. It's the issue. I mean, the kids, we've looked in the past for support, and there isn't a lot of support for children, and there probably should be. Minnie, when you said
Yeah.
3 kids under 10, I can't
Yeah.
even imagine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
The 6-year-old is fine because she was 3 when it happened. So she doesn't really have a memory of what I was, right? But my 8 and 9-year-old, it's tough on them.
yeah.
Sure. For
And I
sure.
have teenagers who would cognitively understand, need to be quiet, but they still wouldn't, like, it's hard for
They're
kids.
kids. Yeah,
Yeah.
they're kids. They shouldn't have to be. And you know, uh
For sure, for sure. Like, because again, they want you to be like you were, but also they want you to be like the mom next door. So,
Yes.
and also we want to be that mom. We would love to
yeah,
go and be like, part of their life, or go to the soccer game,
yeah,
or go to the theater, like, to watch them, like be in a play at school.
yeah,
Um, yeah, and up to these days, like my youngest, like, who was 14 and now like this 24, like at some time it will say like, remember, like, you were not able to do this, you were not able to do that,
yeah,
but I did my best, and I think this is
yeah,
it also, to realize, and I did but the best, and I was, and also like, like, let's just be happy that I'm alive. I could have
yeah,
died that day, and I could have been also seriously ill or seriously injured, in a sense that I could not maybe able to move and not being able maybe to converse with you. So
yeah,
again, like bringing them to be grateful and to look at the full picture. It's so easy to
yeah,
look at what we have lost, I find
yeah.
it.